Public reports from March 2026 were particularly dense with information. In footage aired by CCTV, the Z-20F anti-submarine helicopter was not only seen landing steadily on the deck of a Z-75 amphibious assault ship, but also appeared at the stern of a Z-54 frigate. This indicates that this 10-ton anti-submarine platform has moved beyond the small-scale trial installation phase and is now being rolled out across the Navy's main combat vessels. To understand the value of the Z-20F's mass deployment on ships, we must first revisit a long-standing practical challenge faced by the PLA Navy: the limited size of ship-based anti-submarine helicopter platforms. For a long time, the mainstay on destroyers and frigates was the Z-9C and Z-9F. The Z-9 series has a payload capacity of only 4 tons, with a maximum takeoff weight of approximately 4.1 tons. Such small helicopters can carry only a very limited amount of equipment. To carry out a full anti-submarine search and attack mission, the Z-9C could typically carry only 2 torpedoes, relying on the mothership for detection equipment and lacking independent search capabilities. If it carried both anti-submarine detection equipment and torpedoes simultaneously, its airborne time and combat radius would be significantly reduced. Under normal circumstances, the actual anti-submarine combat radius of the Z-9 series is limited to around 50 kilometers. What does 50 kilometers mean? The low-speed range of U.S. military-grade torpedoes can reach 80 kilometers. In other words, by the time the Z-9 has just taken off to conduct an outward search, a torpedo launched by an enemy submarine could already cover its current position. It's not that the Navy hasn't introduced large anti-submarine helicopters. Russia's Ka-28 is a 12-ton coaxial twin-rotor platform with an anti-submarine combat radius of approximately 200 kilometers, offering performance comparable to Western 10-ton helicopters. However, the Ka-28 fleet is limited in number, its electronic equipment is outdated, it has not been localized for domestic production, and the fleet is aging. The Z-20F, on the other hand, is too large. As a 13-ton class helicopter, it can only be deployed on aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships and cannot be deployed on destroyers or frigates. This has created an awkward situation. The Z-9 series, which is carried by a large number of destroyers and frigates, lacks the range and payload capacity to meet the needs of modern anti-submarine tactics. The turning point came with the Z-20 platform. The Z-20 is a 10-ton class utility helicopter equipped with 2 turboshaft 10 engines, each producing 1,600 kW of power, exceeding the output of the T-700 engines used in the U.S. Black Hawk helicopter. The Z-20 has a maximum speed of approximately 300 km/h, a maximum range of about 800 km, an endurance of over 5 hours, and a payload capacity of 4 tons. As an anti-submarine variant, the Z-20F features a large surface search radar mounted beneath the nose, a sonar buoy deployment system on one side of the fuselage, a magnetic anomaly detector at the tail, and dedicated stations for anti-submarine radar and sonar operators inside the cabin. The integration of these systems equips the Z-20F with a complete anti-submarine combat chain capable of independent search and autonomous attack. When carrying 2 torpedoes and a full suite of mission systems, the Z-20F's combat radius can easily exceed 100 kilometers, with its actual anti-submarine radius potentially surpassing 200 kilometers. This means it can complete search, targeting, and suppression operations before enemy submarines have a chance to launch their torpedoes. It is precisely because of this enhanced capability that the mass deployment of the Z-20F on naval vessels is so critical. However, prior to this, one unavoidable question remains: why has the production volume of the Z-20F remained low despite the model having been in service for several years? The Z-20 was finalized in 2017, and the Navy began developing an anti-submarine variant. Yet, from its first public appearance, around 2020 until 2025, the Z-20F has rarely been featured in public reports. Most of the helicopters parked in the hangars of destroyers and frigates are still from the Z-9 series. There are several reasons for this. Achieving technical maturity takes time, and the anti-submarine variant involves complex sensor integration and mission system debugging. Production schedules are also constrained. The Army's demand for the basic Z-20 model is enormous, and the production line must first meet the Army's massive fleet replacement needs. Cost is another factor. Anti-submarine equipment has never been cheap. The unit price of the MH-60R in 2025 reached $108 million, making it even more expensive than the F-35. Although the Z-20F will not be quite that expensive, as a 10-ton helicopter integrating advanced radar, sonar buoy systems, magnetometers, and fire control equipment, its cost is still far higher than that of the standard model. Given limited budgets, gradually expanding the fleet is a process that requires careful consideration. The changes in 2026 indicate that these bottlenecks are being overcome one by one. The latest developments come from the sixth batch of 054 frigates, known as the 054 AG. One of the most notable modifications in this sixth batch is the significantly extended helicopter flight deck, accompanied by a corresponding expansion of the hangar space, with the full load displacement increasing from 4,053 tons to approximately 4,200 tons. The reason for this modification is clear. Both the fuselage length and the dimensions of the Z-20F with its rotors folded are significantly larger than those of the Z-9, and the original deck space was insufficient for safe operations. Later batches of the 052D destroyers also underwent a 4-meter extension of the stern, with the same objective of making room for the Z-20F. The Z-20F has already been clearly spotted on the deck of the Fuyang, the lead ship of the sixth batch of 054 frigates, and the Shahazi, which entered service subsequently, has also been photographed with the Z-20F on board. The 075 amphibious assault ship is also part of this trend. In footage from a March 2026 report by China Central Television, the Z-20F was shown conducting takeoff and landing operations on the 075's deck. The 075 features a through-deck design capable of accommodating multiple helicopter landing zones, meaning the Z-20F can not only perform anti-submarine missions, but also undertake broader air surveillance and search functions within amphibious task forces. The primary change brought about by the mass deployment of the Z-20F is a significant improvement in anti-submarine efficiency. To carry out a complete anti-submarine mission, two Z-9C helicopters often need to operate in coordination, one responsible for deploying a sonar for search, and the other carrying torpedoes in preparation for an attack. While this division of labor is barely manageable in peacetime, in high-intensity combat scenarios, the number of ship-based helicopters is inherently limited. The fact that two helicopters are required to accomplish what one should be able to do means that the coverage density of the anti-submarine defense line is significantly reduced. A single Z-20F can simultaneously perform both search and attack missions. Moreover, its endurance has increased from the Z-9's 2 hours to over 5 hours, and its combat radius has expanded from 50 kilometers to over 200 kilometers. This gap represents not a gradual improvement, but a qualitative leap. Secondly, there's an improvement in platform compatibility. In the past, the Navy's fleet of ship-based helicopters was quite diverse. The Z-9 series was used on destroyers and frigates, the Z-18F on aircraft carriers and amphibious ships, and a small number of outdated Ka-28s. Spare parts, maintenance systems, and pilot training were all separate for each model, resulting in high logistical support costs. If the Z-20F is fully deployed, it is expected to gradually standardize the Navy's anti-submarine helicopter fleet in the future, bringing long-term benefits in terms of simplified logistics, personnel training, and operational coordination. Public reports have already indicated that the Z-20F has been deployed on the 075 and 054 vessels, and its deployment on the 052DL and 055 destroyers is almost a certainty. Of course, the full-scale replacement of the Z-9F will not happen overnight. The Navy operates a vast fleet of destroyers and frigates. 50 ships of the 054 series have already been built, and there are dozens of 052C, D-series vessels. Many early batch ships were not designed with deck space or hangar dimensions suitable for the Z-20F. These vessels will likely continue to use the Z-9 series for quite some time to come. In other words, for the next decade or so, the Navy's flight decks will likely see the Z-20F and Z-9F coexisting long-term, each fulfilling distinct roles. But this is no cause for regret. While the Z-9 series has limited range, its compact size and minimal deck space requirements still make it valuable on small and medium-sized vessels. What matters is that the Navy finally has a truly capable, large-scale platform capable of competing head-to-head with advanced Western anti-submarine helicopters.